semen, now these haters salty.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to IE Sports Radio. I'm Niners Jess, along with Ty Alston, Maddie B, and your girl Bex. We are the East Coast Red and Gold. What's up, Faithful?
Hey, hey, hey.
What up, Faithful?
Hello, friends.
Live, I survived Philly. Woo.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Woo. We'll get
Didn't
to
even
that
have
in a
to
little
use
bit.
like a young child as a human shield either. It's really good.
I did not.
All
I
right,
had to.
so
There was no choice.
let's bring on our special guests from the Krug Show. We got Larry Kruger in the house.
What's
Hello.
up, Larry?
Legend of YouTube. What's going
How
on?
you guys doing? Good to see you guys again. Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem. Good to have you.
Yeah.
All right, so let's
Sure.
start first with this Eagles game. Niners started off slow. They didn't run the ball. Everybody's starting to freak out because they're not running the ball. Why does Kyle do that to us?
Oh, I forgot to mention to you guys, I don't like to look forward or backward. Is that okay? I don't like to look back at old games or ahead to new games, if that's all right.
So are you
We're
breathing
gonna
right
break
now,
down today's
Larry?
press
Is that
conference.
the appropriate
I don't live in the
time?
past. I don't live in the future, man. I'm just solely right here at 5:03 p.m. on the West Coast.
That's right. And here and now.
Right here and now.
Inhaling or exhaling?
I thought Kyle's game plan, when I went back and when I watched the game, I thought, man, that was so enjoyable. But then when I watched the all 22 from the sideline wide angle, and I got a chance to really look at the plays and break it down a little bit, it's like that was a phenomenal game call by Shanahan. I mean, he had 3 or 4 plays in there that were just absolutely outstanding. And the other thing that really stands out is that the Niners get superstar players when they're not the star of a play to play like, just to play with such urgency off the ball, away from the ball, that it's spectacular. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, Jawan Jennings, I mean, these guys, we see their effort when they have the ball in their hands, but when you watch that all 22 and roll it back and forth, man, you can see the effort even when the ball's not in their hands. And I thought those two guys were huge.
And Juszczyk, Kyle Juszczyk, he played some amazing
Juszczyk,
blocks.
Ayuk.
Yeah, they were all doing the thing.
Yeah, a lot of great blocks in this game.
What was great is like I was at the game and from where I was watching, you could see the path that they cleared for the run. From where I was sitting, like it was just the most beautiful tunnel for a running back to run through. So a couple of like Debo and Christian runs, I was like, that's nice. I don't know who's laying what blocks from here, but my God, you could see the pathway completely executed perfectly in some of those situations. It was pretty to see.
That was the one I was talking about. I asked Kyle about it today. To me, my favorite play in the game was the Debo tunnel screen. Right. So Purdy throws the tunnel screen. The offensive linemen all get out front, including Trent, and he's gone and he's untouched. And I said, I got to watch this thing on the other end. And let me see the all 22 and what happened here. How did a guy, run through a diagonal through the middle of one of the best defenses in the NFL and go untouched? And what it was you had Juice offset to the right of Purdy, and he basically, without Purdy faking the pass to him or the toss, he faked like he was catching the toss, but he did it in such a realistic way where he kind of jumped and he leaped up almost like it was a bad toss. And the linebacker, I think it was Morrow, it might not have been, but I think it was, took 3 steps to his left to go defend CMC on the halfback toss. And those were 3 steps too many because he was a step and a half behind. He was the last line of defense on Debo, and he didn't make the play. And when I asked Kyle about it today, I said, man, do you show your guys this? Is this your culture? Or clearly you highlighted this. And he's like, you know what? Christian is the best player I've ever been around away from the football. I thought that was pretty high praise.
It's amazing. I mean, from where I was watching, you could clearly see the path was so clean. The pathway, the tunnel was there. Like you could see the whole tunnel. And I was like, oh my God, I think he's going to break this for a touchdown. And it was amazing to go back and watch the game and see it, up close on TV rather than from up in the stands. Beautifully executed.
Yeah.
So is this version of Debo better than last season?
He's in better shape. I think he showed up in camp. I mean, there was 3 guys who showed up at camp just looking awesome. CMC, Ayuk, and Debo. Those 3 guys just looked like they were on a different level. And they've really continued it into the season. I mean, Debo's a big money, big game player, right? You put the money on the table and he shows up. He talked a big game last week, and, he's a smart guy. I mean, he knows that you can talk the talk, but you better be able to walk that walk. And he showed up with an outstanding effort. And I loved, probably the most enjoyable part of the entire broadcast was watching him on 3 different sequences waving goodbye to the fans. Yep. I mean, there's something really enjoyable about all these
and each
angry.
time he was right.
Yeah, I know.
That was the best part. He waved goodbye 3 times, and he was correct each time because they never came back from any of them.
Right, and just to see those Philly fans that are just so arrogant. You guys saw that one guy that we kept replaying his, the whiner and the wine sipper and the pinky.
Yeah.
I played the hell out of that clip this week, and it's like that guy. It's when I think of Philly fans, I think of that guy. So I was happy that guy had a bad day.
Larry, I was there. It's a kid-friendly show, or I would share some of the things that were said to me as a single female at the game. I mean, just unbelievable.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Yeah, I put a thing out on Twitter. I'm like, stay classy, Philly, and I put the CL-ASS.
Yeah.
Y on the end there. Yeah.
Kylie Young says that Kittle played a great game as well. Huge catches when the offense was struggling and his blocking was outstanding.
Yeah.
That was another play call I really loved when Kyle ran. He had, I think it was 3 wides. He had Kittle in motion, and he sent all 3 wide receivers on deep routes. There was not one even intermediate route. They were all on deep corners, routes. And then Purdy just dumped it to Kittle underneath, and he rumbled all the way to the 10.
Yeah.
I mean, that was awesome. And the other thing I loved about Kittle in this game, and I was going to ask him about it today, and I forgot, is you guys saw it as well. I'm sure you guys noticed it. When he got in traffic, he became Larry Zonka with the 2 arms around the ball. It's like that game meant too much to him to have somebody pop it out with a big punch. And I just love that urgency. That's like, you know what? I've been in this league a long time. I want to get a ring. I know if I'm going to get a ring, my best chance is to probably win it this year. My team could potentially get home field if we win this game. I'm not putting anything. I'm not risking anything. I'm going 2 hands on the ball in traffic. I loved it.
It was impressive too when he was blocking 2 guys at the same time on the Debo touchdown.
Which touchdown? The first one?
It's the one. I think
it was Larry. It's his first touchdown. It was the play immediately following the dump off pass to Kittle that went down the sideline that he took down to the 10.
Gotcha.
And I think he was on Hassan Reddick in that sequence, the one exactly you're talking about. He's taking on Hassan Reddick for that.
Reddick was remarkably quiet. I'll tell you, the 2 guys that I was really fearful of when I looked at the matchups, it was Hassan Reddick on my good buddy Colton McKivitz, and then it was anybody who was going to be blocking Jalen Carter inside. But, man, they did a whale of a job on Jalen Carter. I don't know that I heard his name all night.
I don't think so.
He's had it very quiet.
I heard it once, and I believe it was like, wow, look at Jalen Carter get pushed off the ball here. I think that was the one time I heard it. So it was
someone
great.
handled him in the outside, the sweep, one of the sweeps. I think it was Kittle who might have been on him or something, or Juice, that they created the space for CMC or Debo in one of those sweep routes out to the left, and he got handled.
I didn't talk about it a lot, but Jalen Carter, I've watched their all 22 for about 7 games. I got that NFL Plus now, which is awesome, by the way. I love the NFL Plus because I can watch condensed versions of games after I go, and I've got to fall asleep fast and all those quick turnarounds. Love the condensed games, but the all 22 of every team in the league is awesome.
Amazing.
It's the NFL Plus is, I'm such a fan. And I watched Jalen Carter like for 6 games, just studying him in particular. And I think he might be the best defensive tackle there is right now. I mean, he is just so, I realize there's Aaron Donald and there's Chris Jones and guys who have bigger names. This guy is about 315 to 320 pounds. And he's just has the explosive movement of a guy who's like 240. And it's just, he's a awesome talent. I mean, that was an incredible draft choice.
Reminds me of a young Warren Sapp, kind of the same build, kind of the same sort of deal, like going into the draft, had these off-field things that kind of dropped him down to 10, even though really might have been one of the top 2-3 players in the draft. So very similar vibes there from both of them.
Yeah. Guys who can do it all, basically. They can rush the passer, they can play the run. You gotta combo block them, but I don't know how the Niners really did it all the way in this game. It was a combination. Sometimes it was Trent, sometimes it was Brendel. They both had. Sometimes it was Banks, and it just they did a number of different things to give him a bunch of different looks. I don't want to say it was luck, but something tells me that he'll be better next time.
So how do you think Colton McKivitz did? Because a lot of people are pretty much throwing him into the fire for this game against the Eagles, and I didn't think he did too bad.
No, I thought he did okay. Hassan Reddick had 1 sack. Philly had 3 hits on the quarterback the entire day. The Niners had 9. Philly had 3. I thought overall I was very pleased with the job the line did. I mean, the Niners got whipped on both sides of the line of scrimmage in that NFC Championship game. The Niners D-line lost to the Philly O-line. The Philly D-line owned the Niner O-line. In this game, it reversed itself. I thought the 49ers, the 49ers were the team that held Philly to 2-something a carry. The 49ers were the team that ran for over 5 yards a carry. The 49ers only gave up 3 hits on their quarterback. Philly gave up 9 hits on their mobile quarterback. So I thought overall, I'll take, if that's, people want to complain, they can complain. I mean, he's not a perfect player. In an ideal world, I think Colton is probably your first, on like a championship roster that was loaded on all phases. He's probably more of a 6th lineman than a starter, but he's tough. He's smart. He's not afraid of the moment. They could do worse.
Yeah. So Larry, being at the game, I felt like they stayed in the game until late in the 3rd quarter. And I felt like the defense just did struggle to stop Philly, from converting a lot. And it's something that I think the defense struggles with, in general. I mean, we have the number 1 defense, so clearly they're doing a lot of things right. But in terms of getting out of those situations, I think that's still just an area of weakness that we have. And 1 or 2 plays there in Philly. And I think, even Kyle said it today. I wasn't going to bring it up as a concern because the score says one thing, but, I felt like being at the game, the performance seemed to indicate otherwise. 1 or 2 plays going a different way, things could have been a little bit different. Those 2 first drives being field goals, not touchdowns, or converting something versus not. One of these, something getting called pass interference that typically would have, that didn't. A couple of big game-changing moments. It was a different story. I mean, I think they had the time of possession. They owned that over us in the game. So, it's not like they weren't on the field and they weren't moving the ball and they weren't continually actively in this game. So I don't know. I feel like that's something that the defense does struggle with, is stopping some of these conversions on third down. And it's still something that I don't know. I was there going, oh, please do not, not again. Don't let them go down the field again.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, you're talking about a 10-1 football team that at that point's 5-0 at home. They're the defending NFC champions. They're super loaded. They're just a really, really good football team. I was expecting and bracing for more adversity. So I was pleased with the job that they did. But yeah, 8 of 15 is what the Eagles converted on third down, and they've got a great quarterback. They've got 2 true number 1 receivers. They've got a couple good running backs. I mean, Gainwell's a really nice receiver out of the backfield. He always plays well against the Niners. So I mean, overall, I was pretty pleased. I mean, to hold Philly to 46 yards rushing and 2.5 a carry or whatever it was, I'll take that every day. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I also kind of wonder, would things have been different if, I don't know, maybe the Niners' best defensive player, in my opinion, not get ejected for putting a finger in the face of a security guard. I don't know. I mean, maybe things would have been different. I just think Greenlaw is spectacular. And to lose Greenlaw the way they lost him in that game, I mean, we can laugh about it now because it was 42-19. If this game had been 35-30 Eagles, we'd be sitting here right now going, dom this, dom that. So that was a ridiculous situation, to be honest.
Even in the moment.
I'm still mad about it.
Well, he's getting the 15-yard flag, and the stadium went bonkers. It was
they
so
bought
loud
that flag for them.
So crazy. It was bizarre. I mean, it was bananas in there, not bizarre, but bananas. And I thought, oh boy, here we go. They're only down a little bit. This could really be the tipping point where the fourth quarter is going to be a really different situation. And, they did go down and push and score, but we came right back and got the touchdown to, silence that. But that was a big play and a big momentum shift right there, because we gave them 15 yards. They were already close to the red zone. And to have everybody get ejected, it just really energized the players, the crowd. Everything was like, I stood there on the rail like, please do not let this be the moment, the whole entire momentum shifts, because it was that kind of a vibe and moment in the stadium.
I felt it coming through the television. I really did. I'll tell you what I thought was a very important play in the game, and this is a bizarre one because it wasn't that special of a play, but so Greenlaw gets ejected because, man, you can't point at Big Dom or whatever, and then so he gets
right.
He
that's
gets
in the rule book.
Yeah, get rid of that leading tackler. And by the way, the phoniest guy of all time, Sirianni, today saying, I didn't want anybody to be ejected. Really? That's so funny, because we read your lips on the sideline saying, eject that guy.
Literally, he's saying his number and everything.
57 better be ejected. And then, I didn't want to see anybody ejected. Yeah, it's I wonder about that.
The one apologizing in the ear pile at the end too, right?
Sirianni, Bozo the clown, I thought was off the air, but apparently not.
Make Barry Switzer look classy. It's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah. I mean, it was just. I mean, he's so easy to dislike. But anyway, Greenlaw gets ejected. They go down. Hurts scores on the tush push. It's 21-13. The place, as you said, is going crazy. You can hear the vibes coming through the TV. You can feel the momentum shift. And do you guys remember what the very next play was?
The 2-point conversion that Fred Warner bats down.
No, they went. That wasn't where they went for.
Well, that wasn't where they went for the 2-point conversion. No,
they went for the 2-pointer in the second half. This is still.
This was
still first half.
That was
after the Greenlaw ejection.
The Greenlaw.
No, this was the third quarter. Yeah, that was the second half, but it was
Greenlaw ejection was the third.
That was the the third quarter. But this is the play you're talking about was in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that was in the fourth.
But the next play that I thought was significant is Debo taking the kickoff return,
right?
And it was only 25 yards. It wasn't like he busted it. But the swagger and the attitude and the energy, he basically kind of, I don't know, it just anytime you see him bouncing around, he just gives the entire team confidence and life. And I just felt like the way he returned that 25-yard kickoff, you know, I mean, yeah, he was 2 yards deep in the end zone when he caught it. He easily could have downed it. Instead, you know, he's like, you know what, I'm bringing it out. And he got to the 23.
He was a shoestring tackle from nothing. He was coming towards me. And if that guy doesn't shoestring him, he had wide open spaces. I don't think anybody could have stopped him. It would have been a return for a touchdown immediately. And I was like, And
yeah, so that was
get up and like slam his fist together because he saw what I
know. He thought he was gone, but I felt like he gave the Niners some juice. Now, Fletcher Cox sacked Purdy on the next play.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then so now they're like 2nd and 12. CMC runs for 5 yards. So they're at 3rd and 7 on the 26. And to me, this is what I thought was maybe the key play of the game.
It was the back.
Purdy again throws an out pattern to Ayuk. Ayuk was covered. He had Darius Slay all over him, but it was just a beautiful throw. And he just stuck it right on his hands in the window, and first down Niners at the 36. And at that point, we all are just taking a collective breath.
Yeah.
And, you know, 2 plays later, he goes to Debo for 48 yards, and it's 28-13. And suddenly I'm sure the whole place was thinking to themselves, hey, Eagle fans, it ain't our night. But I thought that was huge right there. The Debo return was huge. I thought the Purdy to Ayuk on the out on 3rd down was huge, because if the Niners kick it right back to them, it's 21-13 late 3rd quarter, and the Eagles have the ball and the momentum, and who knows how things would have gone. And instead, they make the first down. Debo scores the touchdown. Next time the Eagles touch the ball, they're down, 15. And to me, it just felt like a huge momentum shift.
You're absolutely right on the Ayuk play. I felt like Slay read it. He just couldn't get back in time. He was going longer, and then Ayuk cut back and caught that ball, and he was trying to get back to it. He saw it, but he was too late to get back and do anything with it. And from the stands, I was like, oh yes. Like, oh. But yeah, it was definitely a game changer to get that first down and move the chains and keep going. Because man, if we had given it back, that's what I meant about like the score being so high at the end. But at the game, like you could tell they weren't out of it. They were not out of it until deep in the 3rd quarter. They were in it. They were down by 1 score. And I just kept going, man, they just keep hanging in. Stop it. Can we just stop them once? Just make them punt.
Yeah, they're a really good football team. At the end of the day, we can, the Niners, I think the Niners are the better team. I do agree with Stephen A. Smith that this makes last year's NFC Championship game, we see that in a different light. But even so,
yeah,
Philly was a much better team last year. Hargrave is the veteran. They had him. I think that the main difference is C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They had C.J. Gardner-Johnson last year. This year they get Blankenship and guys back there. I don't think those guys are nearly on the same level.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little Brock Purdy.
Let's do it.
After 13 weeks of the season, is he the MVP?
Yes. Let's just say it. I'm going to say, I've been a big fan of Brock Purdy for a long time. You guys all know that at this point.
Yep.
Can we just say what everybody who's got a brain has been thinking for months? Brock Purdy is great. Doesn't that feel good? Not,
yeah.
Not, hey, he's the guy right now, but I'm not really sure. He's kind of smallish, so he doesn't drive the ball down the field. the guy has the best yards per attempt in the league and the best completion percentage in the league. That's a wrap. That means he's throwing it down the field more than everybody else, and he's completing a higher percentage than everybody else.
But Larry,
yes, they've got a good team, but he's the MVP.
He's got all these guys. Like, I mean, come on. All he has to do is hand it off, and they're doing the rest.
I mean, there's literally no such thing as. I mean, so now should we? Next time I see Joe Montana, I'll be like, Joe, you were good, but man, you had Rice, you had Craig, you had Jones, you had Dion, you had come on. I mean, no, he didn't have Dion.
There's a great graphic. There's a great graphic with that because they talk about the yak percentage,
right,
with the different elite quarterbacks and the yak after, and Brock is like on the low end of that with Mahomes and other recent great quarterbacks. So it's a really great graphic. If we had it, I wish.
That's the Lombardi tweet. Lombardi put that out there last week that Purdy completes 48% of his total yards come from yards after the catch.
Yeah.
The last two MVPs are Rodgers and Mahomes over the last 3 seasons. They all had a higher percentage of their total yards were yards after the catch than Purdy. So let's roll up that and throw it in the garbage and move on to the next debate point. But I just think it feels good to say what I've known for a long time, and I'm sure you guys have known for a long time as well. Brock Purdy is freaking great. Now, whether if you don't think he's great, that's fine. But man, I do. I really do. I think the guy's great. I think he can process what he sees. I think the ball comes out on time. He's accurate. He's competitive as hell. He's got it between the ears. He throws with anticipation. He's now got reps with his receivers, so he's in total lockstep. So he can literally. I mean, I talked to Ayuk the other day. He said, I said, what do you like about playing with Purdy? He's like, you just got to get to your spot. And it's like, that's what it looks like. It looks like if Brandon can get to his spot, that he knows the ball is going to be there. And Debo could probably say the same thing, and Kittle could say the same thing. And I don't know, since the bye week, guys, the arm strength has looked, in my opinion, noticeably better. And I'm not sure why that is, but I'm not questioning it. The guy is great. He's great. And I don't know how they found him. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, are we questioning Farm Boy strength because he went on his bye week and just worked on the farm? So,
it's such a
better form of physical therapy?
It's such a wonderful world that Twitter is in. I literally put out a tweet that day going, there's a picture of Brock on his bye week standing next to a tractor with his young fiance. And, I mean, guys jet off to South Beach. Guys, heck, I was talking to George Odom. He was in the Bahamas. I mean, and no, I'm not begrudging anybody a vacation. This sport's violent. Get away, do what you got to do. But this guy goes to a farm in Iowa, probably to help somebody and to go see his Iowa State team for one weekend and try to go back to his roots and get grounded a little bit. I put out a tweet. I'm like, is this guy for real? And like 15 or 20 people are like, why are you attacking him? Why are you attacking him? I'm like, what? I'm like, that's the downside of Twitter.
The irony in the statement, right?
No, tone is totally lost.
Yeah, it is.
In Twitter. And so it's like, I literally was like, tweeting to people, you missed the point. Sorry. But yeah, the guy's something else. And, his teammates believe in him. That's the other thing too. It's like you're in that room and you see those guys and the way they talk about this guy. And, there's just a lot of respect for Brock Purdy, the person. So
and Larry, that's a great point because from day one, when he was taking over, there was like nothing that anybody was saying. It was all that. They were jazzed up. They were excited that he was going to be the guy because he had run the scout team. And from Kittle to Ayuk, any of those guys, they're like, oh no, we're going to be fine. Brock is, he's the dude. whoever my quarterback is, that's my guy. But they were so excited, and you could see it in their whole demeanor in those press conferences. And anytime they were getting asked about it when he was taking over, they had zero concerns. So when the players aren't up there like eye rolling, like, well, it'll be what it'll be, you know, we'll be fine. We're going to play the game we're told to play. No, they're up there going, you're going to be so excited to watch him play. And like, they just had such positive things to say about him from day one. I was like, okay, if the players are this excited about Brock taking over, how can we not be? I mean, like, we're going to be fine.
Totally. I was driving to the 49er complex that Tuesday after the Miami game between week 13 and 14. And I had Ryan Smith, my old producer, was sitting there with me, and we're walking in. I go, dude, I cannot wait to see what the vibe in the room is like. And he's like, well, we're here every week. Why? What are you looking for this week? And I'm like, you don't get it. I mean, they just lost Jimmy Garoppolo for the year. I mean, he's done. He's not going to play anymore. I go, if these guys have total belief in Brock, they're going to be bouncing around like nothing happened. If they have partial belief in Brock, there's going to be people kind of confident but measured. And if they don't have any belief in Brock, there's going to be a lot of guys talking almost in past tense, and the overwhelmingness of all the adversity, and and sure enough, we got in the room, and it was like, dude, you're right. Every single one of these guys, I mean, it just didn't feel any different at all. And I'm like, that's because they know players know, game recognizes game is the statement, right? Game recognizes game. Yeah. When you can play the sport, you can recognize the other guys who can play the sport. And they weren't nervous because they had seen all they needed to see in camp that summer. So they kind of knew what they had there.
So, Ty, Maddie, after 13 weeks of the season, is Brock Purdy the MVP?
Am I voting like a real person who knows football, or like
the way they do it now?
These lazy voters, the way they do it now?
No, like a real person who knows football.
No, it's CMC. Christian McCaffrey is the glue to the whole thing.
You saw how this offense ran when CMC got hurt in the second half against Cleveland. Didn't go that well. I mean, you saw how things went when Debo and Trent Williams weren't in there, right? Like, they just wasn't there. Brock Purdy was still the quarterback during that time frame last I checked. I don't know, man. I still think that this offense runs and goes through CMC, but it seems like this is all of a sudden just become a quarterback-only award, and it will be the quarterback of the number one seed in the NFC. So if that turns out to be the 49ers, go Cowboys this weekend, as gross as that sounds. Then it'll be Brock Purdy. Right? So, yeah, I'm going to need to take the hottest shower in the world. Like, I'm going to have to put it up to like 120 and just let it go. But it just, to me, it's a CMC's the guy, but it's going to be Purdy. And I'm okay with that. That's not a bad thing. It's just, I don't know. It just seems to me like another attempt to keep the running back market down, quite frankly.
The only encounter CMC's been awesome. I mean, I would never say a negative word about CMC, but I would just say this. My counter to that would be, if the 49ers tomorrow lost CMC, their odds on the Super Bowl would not be as damaged as if the 49ers lost Brock Purdy tomorrow for the year. If Brock Purdy was done for the year tomorrow, the Niners odds would be more impacted negatively than if they lost CMC. And that's just my prediction. I don't know that that's true, but that's my sense of it. And it's obviously probably tied to Darnold.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong about the odds. I think you're 100% correct on that. I think, Darnold, Purdy, 100%. But I also think that we've seen how this offense is without CMC, and the full array of Kyle is unlocked when you have Christian McCaffrey in that backfield. And it seems like there are different things that have been opened up here in the last year and a half-ish, that this has been going on a year now, a little over a year, that he didn't have the horses to do previously. Like, I feel like this is like he's got all the ingredients. He's got all the ingredients in the pantry to make the meal that he wants now. He doesn't have to substitute. He doesn't have to substitute heavy cream for something else, right? Like, he's got everything, and CMC is the guy for that.
Using that 2% milk.
Yeah, exactly. The only thing skim milk, not heavy cream.
The only thing I would say to counter is they did have. I thought they had. Maybe I'm wrong. Did the Niners have? Didn't they have CMC last year? In the they had CMC against the Saints with Garoppolo, and they scored 13 points and beat the Saints, but they only scored 13 points. And McCaffrey averaged 2.9 a carry in that game. That was the one game where you had CMC, but you didn't have Purdy. And then when you had CMC and Purdy, the first game was Tampa, right? Well, the first game technically was Miami. They scored 33.
The first game was Tampa because it was pretty early in that game when that happened too.
So they scored 13 in the one game with CMC, but without Purdy. And then when they added Purdy, they scored 33, 35, 21, 37, 37, 38.
Larry, was somebody missing from the O-line, though? I feel like there was some injuries there, too, that came back as well.
It's possible.
That helped to bring everything back to life. There were a couple people I felt like that were out. Wasn't Trent injured at some point in that whole stretch along that?
I think it was before.
He missed the game last year with something similar, but I don't think I'm not sure if it was that game or not.
I thought it was more than a game. Couple.
He missed a couple, but the Saints game came later.
You could definitely.
Game where they loaded up the line and put pressure on McGlinchey. That was the McGlinchey blocking air game.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
I'm a mime. I'm in a box. Yes.
I think there's no doubt they're both great, and we'll see. They're going to split the vote, but it seems like this has been a quarterback award.
It's a quarterback award, clearly.
And if they didn't give it to this quarterback, you'd almost be like, well, why? Why is this the 1 year you're not giving it to the quarterback? But
and you're offended either way. I mean, right?
Yeah.
At some point, they might as well just name it like the most valuable quarterback award. It's clearly not the most
just
valuable
go ahead.
player.
Yeah.
Like, just go ahead, and that's fine. You know what I mean? Mark Mosley can never win it again. No kicker could ever sneak in with one.
Right.
It boggles my mind.
No Billy Kilmer or whatever.
Well, think about the year Barry Sanders won it. He had to share it with Brett Favre.
Yeah.
Who didn't even have that good of a year. I mean, Barry ran for 2,000 yards.
Yeah.
And he had to share it with a quarterback.
In some ways, I wish for CMC to win it because, in my mind, he got hosed on the Heisman. He had one of the greatest college careers I've ever seen. I used to do the Stanford pregame show, and he was spectacular. That year that I think it went to, was it Derrick Henry instead?
I think you're right.
I'm not sure.
I gave up on college football after USC Texas because I'm like, they'll never ever get it right again after this game, and so far they haven't. So I feel pretty confident in that prediction. Again, they actually get worse every year in picking teams for the playoffs, even though they expand it. So who knew? And I don't even know who plays in what conference anymore. I have no idea. No clue. I'll be watching a game and I'm like, oh, they're not in the Big 20. That conference doesn't exist
20 anymore?
Okay.
Yeah, well, here's a hint. From now on, when you're thinking of what conference are they in, just leave out the Pac-12.
Right. Yes. It's only the Pac-2 now.
They will not be coming out of the Pac-12.
Does that make them 2-pack? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how that goes.
Well, the baseball used to be called the 6-pack, so why not? They go with the 2-pack.
Good.
It was Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry, yeah.
So I wanted to give a shout out to Trent Williams, who hasn't let up a sack since week 13 of last season.
Wow.
All right, big Trent. Wow,
Big
that's amazing.
Trent.
It's incredible. Let's talk a little defensive line from this game, particularly Javon Kinlaw, Kalia Davis, showing up, showing out. Larry, what do you think?
Well, I love to see it. I mean, I'm a big Kalia Davis fan. He played at Central Florida, and he was a linebacker once, and he just kept getting bigger and stronger and faster, and it's like I've been waiting for him to get some run. I mean, I'm a big advocate of Kalia Davis, and I was starting to wonder if I just misevaluated the whole thing. But then the fact of the matter, when he got on the field against Philly, that told me, kind of reconfirmed that what I was seeing is what I think I'm seeing, which is a really special interior player who can rush the passer. So I really like that. And as far as Kinlaw, Javon, this game was a huge game for a lot of people. It was a huge game for Brock Purdy, but it was probably as big a game for Javon Kinlaw. Javon Kinlaw's highlight reel last year from this game was awful. Everybody kept seeing Kelsey and, oh, you got kicked out of the club and you got owned. And, there was just a lot of negativity that was poured down on Javon. And he's a big boy and he can handle it. But like Eric Armstead kind of revealed to us earlier this year that, that criticism really, he took it to heart more than maybe he even should have. And it really bothered him. And so, I mean, he wanted to get back to that moment, and then for him to land 2 sacks in the game and his first sack in 3 years, yep. I'm just really happy for Javon Kinlaw. And granted, Hurts, tripped down at his feet, and all he had to do was tag off on him. But the guy's playing much better football. I mean, the week before, he was the reason that Ambry got the pick on the he was the guy who forced the center back into the backside of Geno. Geno felt that pressure, got rid of the ball, and Ambry picked it. So Kinlaw's playing at a much higher level than he was a year ago. I think in a lot of ways he saved his career. I don't know if he's going to be here next year or not, but I've talked to him a few times this year. I feel like I got a good dialogue going with him. And I feel like he's going to continue to get better. I mean, Armstead's like his mentor, his confidant, is a guy that he really leans on. I asked Eric about it this last week, and he said, "Hey, look, man, the guy's helped me tons too. He talks me up and tells me, yeah, you can't be blocked and stuff like that." And so I'm a big fan of Javon. I think Javon is misunderstood. DeForest Buckner was super special, and we all just had kind of ridiculous expectations that you were just automatically going to get this DeForest Buckner character, and that was just a really high standard to hold anybody to. Buckner is one of the great interior players of his era, so he's not Buckner, but he's a whole lot better than people were saying, and he's playing his best football, and he's feeling good about himself.
Ty, Maddie, Becca, your thoughts?
No, I mean, I agree. He was bringing the heat no matter what. Just because Jalen tripped and fell down, he was right there. He was in the face, ready to take him down no matter what. So you're right. He had a great game, and I do think he's playing well this year.
Yeah, he's been playing well all season long. Since game 1, we saw him blowing things up in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
He's playing on his feet now. He's playing. He's you can't make plays on the ground.
Yeah. I mean, you can see he's finally healthy. He's moving well. He's moving guys around. He's doing a lot of that dirty work. He's the 5th D lineman in the rotation, right? He's still coming in before Chase Young comes in. Right. Like, he's been doing it all season long. This game was huge for him. I agree with Larry on that one, just because of the tape from last year. And he was a wrecking ball out there. He was doing what he's been doing all season. I mean, he made some big stops in the run game.
He did.
He had some tackles. Yeah, like, people focus on the sacks, but he did a lot of other stuff in that game that really helped. And with the implementation that Wilks put in there of using more defensive linemen to try to keep everybody fresh, he was a huge part of the game plan. So, yeah, big shout out to Javon Kinlaw for his play.
Well, and the other thing, too, that's almost an easy play to get a roughing the passer on here in the NFL 2023, right? Like, if he doesn't handle that right, like, he could have easily been flagged for 15 yards and been like, bro, I'm just standing here, right? Mm-hmm. So like he made a smart veteran play, did what he had to do, and like finally got some. Like he needed that one. You know what I mean? Almost 3 years out of sack. That's time. And like he's going to have to be leaned on a little more this week because odds are there's not going to be an Eric Armstead available this week. So may see a little more Kinlaw. Might see a little more Chase Young this week. I'll be real interested to see how they're going to play that out. Eric Armstead's done a really good job on that line.
All right, before we get to Seattle, let's hand out some game balls. Go ahead, Larry.
Game ball. Well, I'll tell you. I'd give it to the DBs, and I would give it probably if I have to give to one guy. I love the way Mooney played; he was tremendous. But I'm going to give it to Demo Lenore. I mean, that was just ridiculous. That hit on Swift. I'm a big hit guy. I I'm just all for for the big hit. Whether you're coaching baseball and you get a little league and somebody gets a big hit on your team, or I used to have an award when I coached little league, and I would give it out to the kid who hit the ball the hardest, right? The hardest. And I didn't care if it was foul, right? I don't care if you hit a screaming line drive down the left field line and it's just super hard, you got the game ball. And it made the kids on the team go up there swinging hard, which was the point, right? I want you up there swinging hard. And the same thing, defense. I like guys who fly around and hit. And Lenore's hit on the running back was just, I mean, that was a night shot. And I asked Womack about it today, and he started laughing. He was loving it. Lenore worked out at the Mamba Center in Southern California in the offseason. When I saw him, I said, "Hey, it looks like you've lost some weight." And he's like, "No, man, I've actually put on weight." And so that tells me, it was like, wow, this guy put on some good weight, right?
All muscle. Yeah.
It was all muscle, right? And you guys have seen the difference. I mean, look at the difference in what he is as a tackling force. There's so much more force to his game. And now he can play inside and be that glorified linebacker in the slot. And he's a force. He kind of reminds me a little bit of K'Wan Williams from a few years ago. So I'll give my game ball to Diamador Lenore for the night hit on Swift.
Do you have any on offense?
To me, it's like Deebo Samuel is, it's like another thing I really enjoy is maybe it's because I'm in the electric media and I like sound bites. I like guys who talk a little bit, I know it's just 1 of 17. Yeah, I know you respect your opponent. Yeah, I know, my eyes glaze over with those answers. I like the guys who are like, you know what? We're coming and you better be ready. And, I called him trash and guess what? I'll stand by it. I mean, I like that. I like, I talk trash. Everybody who knows me knows that. And I like people who talk trash and who back it up. And Deebo talked a lot of trash and then he backed it up. So I'm giving my game ball to Deebo. I love the force that he plays with. I love the way he ran on that first touchdown. It was like, I am getting to the end zone. I don't care who's got an angle on me. You're just going to have to jump aboard the train because I'm carrying you all to the end zone. There's something about him as a big time money player. If you said to me, who's the best Niner wideout, I'm going Ayuk. If you said, who's the best weapon, I'm probably going CMC. If you're saying who's the heartbeat of the team, I might go Kittle. But man, in some ways, Deebo's like their biggest star. And sometimes it takes games like this. I mean, think about it. Who was the best Niner offensive player when they almost won the last Super Bowl? It was Deebo in the first half. He was the MVP at halftime of that game, and they only got him 2 touches in the second half. I think that was, in a lot of ways, their biggest mistake. And it's the one thing that I asked Shanahan about in the post game. I'm like, dude, how do you give Deebo only 2 touches in the second half? And he's like, well, it doesn't quite work that way. And I'm like, well, it should. The Rams found a way to give Cooper Kupp the ball with the money on the line in the NFC Championship game the next year. Why can't you get Deebo the ball? So especially a guy you can hand it to. I just think he's such a money player, and I just expect that if the Niners can go to the NFC Championship game this year, if the Niners can go to the Super Bowl again, I think he's going to be the guy that's going to push him over and win the game. So I'll go Debo.
Go ahead, Becca.
Well, I mean, Larry stole my thunder there with Debo. Last week we talked about, I said, if Debo's going to talk the talk, he better get out there and walk the walk. And it was nothing more fun than being there and watching him just take it to the house and manhandle people and then wave. Like they showed one on the screen. They didn't show the others. I had to see that on the replay. But Debo for sure gets game ball. Trent too. I love Trent Williams. He brings, I don't know, I feel like he brings that silent rage. Big Trent just smiles with that big toothy grin and walks in and he's like, I'm gonna F you up. I'm gonna smile at you while I do it, but I'm gonna take you and I'm gonna manhandle you and you're going to die today. So I love Trent. I love his positive spin that he always brings on his death wishes. He's like, we're going to a funeral. Somebody's about to die. But smiling the whole time he's saying it. So I love that about Trent. So Trent and Debo, I think really are. Initially, I was only going to give game ball to Debo because I thought this was Debo's game. He said what he said. He came in and talked his talk, walked his walk. But really, so many people contributed on both sides of the ball. So, but offensively, it's Debo and Trent. I mean, not to say Brock didn't do his job either, but on defense, it's Mooney and Ambry and Deommodore Lenoir. Those guys really, really brought it. I mean, the defensive front did too. You can't take anything away from the defense in this game. I love that we didn't turn the ball over. I love that we only had, a low number of penalties this game. And Mitch Wishnowski, Mitchy Wishy, he just keeps being amazing the whole time. So those are my game balls. Can't give one till he gets people back.
Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, on excuse me. On defense, I got one for Dre Greenlaw. Kicked out midway through the third quarter, but still led the team in tackles. I mean, he was just flying all over the place, being the force that he is. We need that guy. He's the tone setter. So absolute force. On offense, I got one for CMC. He was just doing a little bit of everything as usual, even away from the ball. He was drawing double teams, freed up the other part of the field and setting up linebackers for big plays later on in the game. It was just beautiful to watch him work. I got one for George Kittle as well. He's just that dude, right? Catching, blocking, cheering everybody up. He's just awesome. And on special teams, I got one for Sammy Womack, filling in for the shoes of George Odom, who's down.
Yeah.
Womack did a very good job as the gunner out there. So those are my guys.
I'm going Debo, George, and Dre Greenlaw. Go ahead, Maddie.
Mm-hmm. Jawan Jennings had some big catches. That one on that third down conversion I thought was huge. I mean, the touchdown was pretty awesome too, but the third down conversion was monstrous. Mm-hmm. That was a big mood changer. He's the perfect third wide receiver because he doesn't have some huge ego and need to get the ball all the time. Like, he knows he's only going to get it like 1 to 3 times a game, so he better catch it every time he gets it. So, and he typically does.
And do something with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to him. Oren Burks coming in, playing well, like even after Dre Greenlaw got unnecessarily penalized for a German suplex that was weaker than Bob Backlund in the 70s.
That's what I said. The guy's foot never left the ground.
I just want to back up 2 things on that. One, the player that he was tackling was still in bounds. The play had not been blown
way
dead.
In bounds.
2, he wasn't really aggressive in throwing him to the ground. He was finishing a tackle. Like, that was it. He didn't go for the head. He didn't try to do a hip drop. And then the person that he punched, end quote, air quotes, of course, was Philadelphia team head of security. And if you go and you look at the rule book, like, he's not wearing a striped shirt. He's not another player. So not only should Dre Greenlaw not have gotten a 15-yard penalty, he shouldn't have been ejected. And for him to get ejected and for him to throw the other guy out like, oh, that's an even trade, right? It's a bunch of BS. Yeah. Fix it. Yeah. It's a bunch of garbage. If that had happened, we had lost. We're talking about that for weeks. I'm still mad about it because to me, it's almost like it's going to give Dre Greenlaw a reputation, is what it is. And people are, I can't believe you do that. I'm sorry, like we celebrate. Remember when that dude ran on the field last year with like the pink smoke bomb and Bobby Wagner just laser beamed him, like, Death Starred him, like that was it, right?
Bobby didn't get ejected.
He didn't get ejected. This is almost the same thing in my eyes. Like this is a team employee who interjected himself. And by the way, he was not inviting Dre Greenlaw over for a post hey, we've still got some. We did way too much for Thanksgiving when we put it in the freezer. Why don't you get some over afterward? Like he was not a jovial, chipper man. Like he was talking crap. Like he was on the game. Like get over yourself, guy. Like you're already on the sidelines and you're in like.
Well, if you watch the All 22, I don't know if you watched the All 22, but if you watch the All 22, Big Dom was edging towards the field at least twice on two other plays where I can see this guy literally taking a step on the field. I mean, it wasn't like, so he was getting a little too big for his britches on that whole deal. And as far as Juwan Jennings, it reminds me, I used to work with this defensive coordinator in the Canadian League, and he used to be like, Larry, let me tell you. And he had all kinds of things to say. And one of the things he used to say is, he's like, Larry, you got to know NFL football players, you got to know their motivation. And I'm like, Coach, go ahead. What's their motivation? He's like, some guys play for the green, some guys play for the girls, and some guys show up for the W, and other guys show up to just F shit up, And he's like, and he's like, but there's no doubt that a guy like Juwan Jennings, he shows up to beat you. He doesn't show up for the glory. He doesn't show up for the girls. He doesn't show up to kill you. He shows up to win. He is a competitive guy, and he does all kinds of the dirty work that result in winning. And I've always believed, and it doesn't even matter what sport you're talking about. You can talk about any sport. You got to have a certain percentage, and preferably a high percentage, of guys who show up and they live for the W. They live for the win. And they're that competitive. And that's Juwan Jennings. There's bigger, faster, better wide receivers. Everybody knows it. But, man, there's no 49er fan that knows this team that would ever complain if the ball found Juwan on a key third down with the season on the line. We all have total belief in third and Juwan because he's proven it. He's absolutely proven who he is. And, he's a winner. Guy shows up to win.
Larry, we have a few minutes left with you here. Thank you for coming on.
Sure.
Moving on to Seattle. Seattle has more rest going into this matchup. Is that cause for concern?
Yeah, I mean, it's cause for concern just because this is going to be a tough game to get revved up for. You got the Ravens coming in a few weeks. You've had everybody in your sphere kiss your butt this week and tell you how great you are. And somehow you're going to have to get serious. And we know it's not just this game. I'm worried about all three of these division games. This game, the Arizona game, and the Ram game. The division games are the hardest games to win. That Arizona game earlier this year, the score looked one-sided. It was a much tougher game. The Ram game that we saw the Niners win earlier this year was nip and tuck, very close. I do think the Niners are quite a bit better than Seattle, and I think they'll get them and put them away. But, the NFL, you're always like 2 turnovers and the bad bounce of a football away from being upset. So I just think that as long as Brock can concentrate on make a play or don't make a play, but take care of the ball. You know what I mean? It's okay to get to 4th down and say, Mitch, punt it. It's okay. What's not okay is to turn it over at your own 22-yard line and ask your defense to, stand up in that situation. So as long as Brock takes care of the football, I think the Niners will have enough to beat Seattle, but they're going to have to really juice it up and get themselves, use whatever motivation they need to get going on this one, because Seattle is, going to roll in with a level of desperation, and it's hard to beat a desperate team sometimes. And so I just hope that whatever the Niners have to do to find the right motivation, they do. And I hope Brock takes care of the ball. If he takes care of the ball and they find the proper motivation, I think the Niners should win by 17 points. But it's a division game, and Seattle's got a lot of pride. We saw it in the third quarter 2 weeks ago up there. So I think the Niners get the win, but I don't feel cocky about it.
All right, Larry Krueger, the legend of YouTube.
Stop.
Larry, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
Larry.
Absolutely. You guys are great. Thank you for inviting me. I'll see you guys. Jess sometimes will pop into some of the other live streams, and I always love seeing you in there. Good luck to you with the growth of your channel, and go Niners. Wouldn't that be awesome if this were the year that we get to see that 6th Lombardi in the trophy case?
No.
We've only been waiting 29 years now.
This is the year, and it's going to be awesome.
The year.
Seriously, there's, if you're 25, you're walking around, you've never seen it. And it's like, think about that for a second. Everybody who's 25 or really 29 or younger, right, has basically no recollection of the Niners being the top dog. And like, for those of us who are old, we still think of the Niners as the team that was on top. And now it's like the younger part of the fan base needs to feel the pride that comes with being the top dog, and they haven't felt that in a while. So I want that for my kids. I want that for all the young Niner fans, and I feel good about it. I really do. I feel like this is the year.
I'm only 29, Larry, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you have to be 35 or older now to remember that. Just think
Seriously.
about that.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
Great moment, though. It was a great moment, and I don't have a lot of stuff that I keep. I'm not a stuff guy. I'm more of a people person, right? So like, I don't want to. If I meet somebody, I don't want an autograph. I don't want a picture. I just want a memory of meeting them, right? And but the one thing that I do cherish that I have is I have the Sports Illustrated commemorative copy of the Niners beating the Chargers in Super Bowl in 1994 and January 95. Yeah. And I got Eddie D to sign it and write me a note on it.
Wow.
And it's like the only thing that that and my Niner hat that was signed by Bryant Young when he was a rookie. Those are the only two, items or whatever that I have that I really cherish. And so I would love to have Eddie D, sign the next one as well. It'd be incredible.
I have the catch. Yeah. Dwight Clark signed my copy of the catch from when I was 10 years old. Like, I had Sports Illustrated because I was a crazy.
There is no better person, by the way, than DC.
He was amazing, right?
He was an amazing guy. And he one time came up to me at a Giants game in the luxury suite, and he's like, "Krug." I'm like, I was floored that he knew me. And then he told me that he listened to my sports phone show on a regular basis, and I thought he was BSing me. And then he started quoting callers from like the night before show, and I was floored. And then he reaches into his jacket and he takes out a box, and I'm like, DC, what's that? And he's like, oh, these are my Super Bowl rings. I carry them around because people like to see them.
Wow. Now
think about that for a second. That is a guy who's always thinking about his place in the dynasty, but how the impact that it's had on other people. He was such a people pleaser that he wanted to bring those rings and let people try them on and see them. Everybody else would lock them up in a safe deposit box and wear them on, 2 days a year. Not DC.
Yeah.
He wore them out because he knew people wanted to see him. When people wanted the outline of that play, he would outline the whole thing. He was a
Right
special human being. Sometimes I wonder why he got taken so early. I played golf with him on more than one occasion. I did a number of different, events with him through the years, and I miss him, man. I really do.
Yeah, he was incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible man.
All right. Thank you, Larry.
Guys, have a great night.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
You too.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, anytime.
Take care.
See ya.
Thank you.
The legend, Larry Krueger. Good stuff. Guys, your thoughts on Seattle having more rest going into the matchup?
I don't like it. I hate it. I hate them getting any sort of advantage whatsoever. Yeah. They looked really good against Dallas the other night. They actually looked like a football team that had an offense, which I thought was amazing because for most of this year they didn't. And it's real easy to get overconfident in a game like this, but like this is a team that even when they weren't that good, like for some reason was splitting with us at least once a year, or even when we were way better. So it's a game that you really got to be trepidatious about. And, they're going to be desperate. Their backs are against the wall. This is their season. This is their playoff game. Basically every game for Seattle right now is a playoff game. So they better be prepared. I think it's going to be a nail biter down to the end. So
I just want to say shout out to everybody in the chat. You guys are awesome. If you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe to us. And yeah, go ahead, Becca.
No, I don't disagree with Matt. I actually earmarked one of our losses to Seattle this year because we play them twice a year. They always, Pete Carroll always has our number. Yes, we swept them last year, but that was an anomaly. Typically, that's not the case. He either sweeps us or we barely squeak out a win. So I am concerned because I just like coming off the big high with Dallas, that was such a big game and I think consumed so much energy that we saw the letdown. Like I'm afraid of that same like letdown here after the Philly game. There, it was such a high energy game for the team that now I'm like worried that they're going to just assume that we're going to be able to take care of Seattle again. I mean, yes, it was Thanksgiving and that's also a big game. So that's my only concern. Like you're walking back into home. You just came off this big back-to-back wins against these two teams. And we walk into home and sort of kind of dismiss them. I think that's a really big mistake if we do. And I think hopefully they're really looking at the schedule going, we have 2 divisional games that are not going to be easy. And I hope they really take Seattle and Arizona seriously in these next 2, contests because it's consequential. If it's not, I mean, I think it's big. It's a big deal. So I don't know. I agree with Larry. I think we'll win, but it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be the slobber knocker we just watched.
Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, I don't think the 10 days of rest means anything. They're just rested. Big whoop. The 49ers are a better team from top to bottom. So if we go out and execute the way that we are capable of executing, it's not going to be any contest. We should beat them easily once again. Maybe we could rest some players in the fourth quarter like we did last time,
Mm-hmm.
It should be the same thing. Their skill players can't handle our skill players. They can't handle our run game. It just is what it is. Our defense is better. Like the guys just got to go out there and execute. And as we've seen these past few weeks, they've been executing at a high level. And I don't see any drop off for that. This is when this is go time. It's December. It's where players, they're like, okay, the light is coming at the end of the tunnel. We better play our best. And they're doing that. So, yeah. Seattle.
Yeah, I agree with you,
2 weeks rested. I'm not worried about them.
I agree with you. Niners are clearly the better team. And I'm looking for another blowout.
Like people say, oh, they put up points against Dallas. Dallas is not that good.
Right.
Dallas
Agreed.
is not that good. People
Oh,
see Dallas
that's
beat
not.
up.
Still
beat up.
giving them props.
People
Totally
see Dallas
agree with
beat
that.
up on the Patriots and the Jets, the Giants, and they're like, ooh, they're so good. They're playing last place teams. Like, yeah.
Thanks,
How
Don.
do they get that
Thank you.
schedule? It's so weird to me how they got like the easiest schedule and the 40. And this schedule, by the way, is made by AI and it's supposed to give players the most amount of rest and everything is supposed to be perfect and blah, 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 blah. And it just seems to me like the 49ers got screwed like every single step of the way on the schedule, right? It's not so much the rest. It's just the difference between this game and the last game is the fact that Geno Smith will actually have a healthy arm. So them having, as a team that has lived through a game where a quarterback did not have a healthy arm, we've seen the difference between having a healthy quarterback and a non-healthy quarterback. So I do expect this game to be closer. And they're going to, desperate teams do desperate things. I've seen a lot of NFL things this week, this year, especially in the last couple of weeks. Some no effing logic games. Bengals Jaguars on Monday night is a absolute perfect example where you're just like,
yeah,
what? Like I'm expecting Pittsburgh and New England to drop 60 tomorrow night, and we all just sit back and wonder,
man,
like
that would be amazing.
Like reevaluate all of our life choices because we just don't know what's going on, right? Like,
well, just because you said 60, it's going to be 6-0.
Yeah.
Final score.
It could be 6-0.
The 6-0 is not 60.
Correct, 100%. Also, by the way, speaking of 6-0, I don't know how that even ties into 6-0, but I don't know if you know this or not, but Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky is an all brisket jerky, and it's got gluten-free options, no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar and high in protein. PlanetJerky.net is where you can find this stuff, and that's PlanetJerky.net, brisket beef jerky that's on a whole nother planet. They're the official sponsor for IE Sports Radio. Of course, you can find IE Sports Radio on the X, the Instagram, the Facebook, and the TikTok. To keep up with the trends in sports and with the shows, go to iesportsradio.com/East Coast Red and Gold for more information and to stay up to date on everything.
And Planet Jerky is shutting out the competition. That's why.
I was going to say, I ordered some and drop shipped it for Christmas gifts.
All right.
Oh, nice. Good stuff.
Beefy.
There you go.
All right. X factors on offense. Ty, go.
I think Brandon Ayuk. They can't guard him.
They do for the big game.
I can't guard him. I can see them, trying to focus on Debo. Now Debo's like in vogue, right? We got to pay attention to Debo. And Brandon Ayuk just going off. So it'd be an Ayuk game, I feel.
Becca?
CMC. He's going to have another amazing game against them.
That guy.
Kittle.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say Kittle because Seattle
Seahawks
usually struggles
Got
against
to.
Kittle.
I never pick Kittle because I know he's going to be your guy.
He hasn't had a touchdown for a couple of weeks though, so I feel like he's due for one, right? Like
I agree.
It's time. It's time for Kittle to get back in the end zone. Like Ayuk probably needs to get. Like this team is kind of like a zigzag offense. Like McCaffrey's pretty consistent each week. Like he's going to get you a touchdown and some other things, but then everything else moves around. Like some weeks it's Kittle, some weeks it's Kittle and Ayuk, some weeks it's Kittle and Debo. Like,
just pick your poison.
Hey,
you really do.
What are you gonna do?
You 100% have to.
Yep.
What are you gonna do?
And what you gonna do, brother?
What you gonna do about that?
You said, what are you gonna do? And I almost ripped my shirt off, but nobody wants to see that.
He is a real American.
Yeah, that's right. For the rights of every man, baby.
Every man.
My air guitar. Right. Let's go. Yeah, my red spandex 49ers pants. Hit it. I got to get the white cowboy boots too. That'd be great.
You got to complete the outfit.
Yeah, that'd be Niner Mania, baby. Yeah, Niner Mania. But where were we? We were talking about the thing.
X factors
and then I went off.
Holy derail.
Rather than Maddie and white boots.
Yeah, we were talking about Kittle, and we were talking about Debo, and then we were talking about something else. I don't know. It's gone now. It's gone. It was sad. I felt like I had a point to make too, but it's gone.
It'll come back to
my
you.
bad. That's my bad.
All right,
They'll all come back, but somebody else will be talking by then. I won't interrupt them, so we'll just let it ride.
X factors on defense. Go ahead, Becca.
I mean, I think it's going to be the same guys it was the last time. It's going to be, Mooney Ward and Ambry Thomas shutting it down again.
For me, I think it's the defensive line and playing, disciplined and staying in their lanes.
Closing it down for
Geno Smith.
For Geno, yeah. That was key in the last victory for sure.
Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, I think it's the linebackers, Jerry Greenlaw in particular. He had a quarter and a half of rest. So he's going to be refreshed and willing to go. You know what I mean? So he'll be out there doing his thing. And, I can see him making big plays in the run game. And if Geno tries to take off and run, he'll be right there running with him.
Yeah, Maddie.
Jair Brown. I think he's gonna get targeted. You know what I mean? Like that's probably a thing that they're gonna do, and where they actually have a quarterback that can throw this time, they'll probably be looking for him. Whether it's they've got good veteran receivers in Lockett and in Metcalf, and Jackson Smith and Jigba is insane. So hasn't even really scratched where he needs to be yet. Like, I don't even think he knows where he needs to be on the field half the time. He's just like, oh, I'm kind of in the general area. I'll stick a hand up and catch it. So, they can create some problems, and they can kind of stick around in that aspect of it. So, hopefully the secondary stays tight. I really like the signing of Logan Ryan, by the way. That's a really, like the baseball team that would make the trade on August 31st, back when they had the waiver trade deadline, and they're like, we're going to get this guy and we're really going to stock up, right? And they'd go get some all-star first baseman and play him as like a defensive replacement in the ninth inning because, they didn't like their other person. That's what it feels to me like the 49ers are doing right now. Like, they're getting a Logan Ryan. I finally remembered my thought. They're talking about getting Zach Ertz to be the tight end too.
Oh yeah.
Because of the Ross Dwelly high ankle injury. And it's very possible that after this week's game, they're going to put Dwelly on IR and then sign Ertz after that for the roster spots. So they don't have to cut anybody. That is huge, guys. Having a tight end too that can free some things up. Some of the ways they scheme things, like really since CMC's been back, they don't really use the tight end too all that much. But they have some plays where guys are wide open, but you need to have guys in there that you can trust to catch them, right? And Zach Ertz could definitely do that.
Absolutely.
Sell Kittle a little bit. That's another guy that has also, get this, won a Super Bowl. Also, it will annoy Eagles fans. So that is kind of like a side thing, which is really like, hey, a little bonus. So, I like all of it. Like, it really feels to me like they're trying to fill every last possible scenario and be ready and have depth. And they're really taking this seriously. So but to go back to the original question, yeah, Brown, I think he's kind of got to get playoff ready. You know what I mean? Like he's learning on the fly. He's developing on the fly. He's going to develop.
He's been solid these past weeks. He's been solid.
Yep, he
has.
has.
I haven't heard his name. He's been making plays.
All right, let's go to that hurry up offense and the 2-minute warning.
Hold on, I wasn't ready.
Sorry.
Nope.
The last game.
I would like to dedicate tonight's show to a fellow 49er faithful, Corey Davis, who passed away shortly after the Niners victory on Sunday. Corey, you will be missed, and you'll forever be in our hearts. I also would like to say congratulations to Debo for being the NFC Offensive Player of the Week. Brock Purdy for being the FedEx Air Player of the Week. Also, the fact that we had 6 straight touchdown drives, that needs to continue because that was absolutely awesome. Again, shout out to everybody in the chat. And as always, go Niners. Go ahead, Maddie.
Yeah, R.I.P. Corey for sure. that's a big loss. And I'm just now hearing about that. So I'm not on the social media all that much. Pretty terrible at it. But also free Dre Greenlaw. Let's not eject players for things that they shouldn't be ejected for. Let's avoid that for the rest of the season, gang. Hopefully the league can figure that out. So, and all I have left is to say this.
Mm-hmm.
Bang, bang.
There you go.
Go, Becca.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, absolutely. RIP Corey. It's a big loss for the Nine Faithful and people who, knew him. To his family, all our prayers and thoughts go out to you. CMC reached 1,000 yards rushing and tied a team record this week. So congrats, CMC. Eric Armstead, congrats on, again, being Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. Brock Purdy was the Air Player of the Week. Dre Greenlaw, keeping amazing. I thought it was a crappy call. The guy's leg never even left the field, so I didn't think it was a lift and penalty worthy call, but so be it. You keep playing with your intensity and don't let anybody get in your face because they can smell my finger too if that's what we need. But go vote for our guys in the Pro Bowl. Welcome Logan Ryan to the Niners, and let's go get a win against Seattle because, my God, the bird hunt is on. We're 2 for 2 so far. We got a couple more birds to take down and go Niners.
Yep. R.I.P. to Corey. Corey was a great guy who loved his Niners and, more importantly, loved talking about his Niners with his fellow faithful. He was just one of those, cool guys to chat with. Season is not over. There's a whole lot of football to be played. A lot of you Niner fans out there are talking about we got the number 1 seed already. We don't. Pump your brakes. Take it 1 week at a time, and let's go Niners.
All right. Again, shout out to everybody in the chat. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and we will see you next week. Go Niners.
Go Niners.
And of course, for the upstart 49ers, they're 6 yards away from Pontiac. 3rd and 3.
We'll see a pickup sometime on the right side, possibly.
Montana